case of network television telling people to do exactly what it was that this woman did in this episode of Law and Order? Or is it the mainstream media basically showing exactly how stupid it is that this woman has decided not to go through with what should be actually done?
I don't want that. Natalie?
Really quick, guys, before we get started on this, I want you to know that I will be speaking out about this situation overseas with EU between, let's just say, the situation in Jordan where 3 of our guys got killed. But that video will be on Gear Issue 33 tomorrow because it's actually a part of a bigger piece that I'm actually working on. So just letting you guys know that, but we'll talk more about it towards the end of the video. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this. Okay, guys, so there's this clip, or this series of clips that went viral, of course, from an episode of Law and Order about a woman who was, we'll just say, assaulted. And the person who committed the assault was a young black teenager. Now, I don't know exactly what Law and Order was thinking with this, but obviously network television has been around for a very long time. Television series have been around since the inception of the television. But still at the same time, one of the many ways that they try to propagandize people is obviously through the tube. The thing is this right here, most people don't get affected by the tube because most people are rational, sane human beings. But of course, this series of clips went completely viral, which I'll play for you guys here in a second. I'm going to play them in full, but there's going to be a header over them because I don't want a copyright claim on the video. But you'll definitely be able to hear exactly what's going on. But before we get to the first clip, I want to go ahead and talk about this notion of why it is that people think that calling the cops is just another form of white privilege. Are you people high? If somebody robs you, somebody steals you, and you're not able to fight back at the time, even if you do fight back, it's highly advised that you do, in fact, call the cops. The biggest reason why you do it is not so much the fact that they just wronged you, but also that they could possibly do the same thing to someone else. This right here is that classic R word that, quite frankly, we're not allowed to say here on YouTube, or if we do say it on YouTube, our ads get limited. This right here is a case where you definitely would want the person to be arrested. However, if we don't forget, there was a situation here recently in Brooklyn where let's just say a left-wing activist thought it was a good idea. I did a video on this. I'm following up not the clips, but the actual thumbnails itself, where a guy had obviously figured that he would try to disarm one of those youths or meddle with one of those youths, and of course he got killed. Meanwhile, his girlfriend would later on say she did not want the young black male arrested for killing her boyfriend. Strange logic these people have. But let's play the first clip, and let's take a look at exactly what's really and truly going on. Like I said before, there will be a header over this.
But Natalie, Jay Watson raped you. You think I forgot? How could I? This entire trial has been an exercise in reminding me.
And this is your chance to do something about it.
I am going to. Believe me. Because I can. I can afford therapy. I have that luxury. And maybe one day I'll be okay. But if that teenager goes to prison, he may not be. Ever. I don't want that. Natalie? What?
So obviously you see a girl who's got some money, or you may have heard, girl who's got some money, doesn't want to press charges, does not want to see the young black teenager who R-ed her, assaulted her, you know, that stuff that we're not allowed to say here on YouTube. Does not want this person to go away for a long time. Okay, this right here is something, and I understand it's television, but obviously you're about to get into the whole nuance of somebody saying, well, you know what, I didn't want to speak about this because it happened years ago, and I was embarrassed by it. Okay, I've had this conversation before, dealt with this conversation from other girls, have listened to some of their stories, found this out when I was in RT, because we had to go through psychology classes. We had to talk about victimology, all that type of stuff there, what people were thinking. Stockholm Syndrome was discussed. Just saying this type of stuff was actually brought up. Not an expert, just saying it was brought up. When I went through the law enforcement academy, this entire situation was brought up again. And of course, being around cops, they also told stories of this too. It's understandable why somebody might at first be a little bit hesitant to go through with having somebody charged, because oftentimes ladies cannot fully identify their attacker. Same thing with young men who also go through this too. Still, though, at the same time, this notion that it's white privilege to want your attacker locked up is absolutely insane. Now, where did this actually come from? Well, if you guys remember, there was this situation back in 2020. There was a Minnesota council member, which, by the way, I can't find the clip of her saying that it's basically white privilege if you call the cops. However, what I could find is I could find the CNN version of it, which was actually broadcast through the Next Newswork and also the Daily Caller. Let's
said so on CNN. And before we show you the clip, if this is your first time here and you like our reports, please go ahead and hit the red subscribe button down below. Just make sure you do hit that notification bell. Jim Hoff's Gateway Pundit reports that after nearly 2 weeks of violence, mayhem, and rioting in Minneapolis, the city council on Sunday voted on their intent to disband the police department. Yeah, that's going to go over real well. They said here that the wild proposal would invest in community-led public safety. Maybe they should send in the gender studies students first, right? Yeah, community-led public safety instead of police officers. Quote, "We are here today because George Floyd was killed by the Minneapolis Police Department. We are also here because in Minneapolis and in cities across the United States, it is clear our existing system of policing and public safety isn't working for so many of our neighbors." The words of the Minneapolis City Council President Lisa Bender said in a written statement on Sunday that was obtained by the appeal. And now on CNN, she says it's calling the police is white privilege. Watch.
Have a state action against our police department, which gives us legal mechanisms in the very short term. You know, there's lessons from all over the country, all over the world that we're looking to take immediate steps while we work toward building the systems that we would need to imagine that future.
Do you understand that the word dismantle or police free also makes some people nervous? For instance, what if in the middle of the night my home is broken into? Who do I call?
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality where calling the police may mean.
Basically, what this whole white privilege thing is, or this is white privilege, it's really just a self-hating ideology. It's kind of what the left does. I mean, it's really funny, too, because the left in the United States, they have this extremely, how do I say, it's a very, very morbid view of their own ideology. And we'll be talking more about this in future videos, because there was a debate recently between Shapiro and Destiny that I think really and truly encapsulates the entire thing about the American left. It's a belief that everybody in the world thinks like them. It's a belief that everybody in the world is inherently good like them. And, of course, they have got to throw this crap down your face. It's a belief that not only is it really and truly self-hating, like I said, it's kind of like a schizoid, schizophrenic type view, because the truth be told is the left in other nations, like, say, the left in Italy under Mussolini, the fascist, and, of course, Hitler, that was a different type. It was obviously all Marxist, but of course it's a much, much different type. Communists would actually, believe it or not, in the Soviet Union, they would actually kill the people that the left is constantly, how do I say, simping for if they committed crimes. They would actually do that. It's a different form of what it was. I mean, both ideologies obviously are completely and totally batshit, but still at the same time, though, it's a self-hating ideology that I guess is designed on trying to make people almost want to off themselves. I mean, I have to say it that way because I understand that YouTube is this extremely weird set of TOS, terms of service. But still, though, this particular ideology, this thing about attacking yourself over something you can't control, which, by the way, is your color of your own skin, is absolutely insane. These people have completely lost the plot. But hopefully this episode of Law & Order will show people exactly how crazy this entire ideology is. It's one of the main reasons why is that some people are asserting that maybe it was a good thing that this episode came out so that way people can actually see exactly how crazy. Obviously, this is insane. Obviously, this is loony. So the question then becomes, did NBC aired this episode in the hopes that this issue would be tackled? Are they subconsciously telling people that when you are attacked, you need to actually, report the crime? Well, then the second clip comes out. This one's a little bit longer, but I'm going to play it for you guys. Headers, of course, are going to be over it. I'm going to describe the actual scene itself, even though you actually hear it, but I'm going to add to it because it shows this, let's just say the messaging here is not exactly what we call spot on.
I'm listening, Mr. Carter.
Go ahead, Jay.
That girl, Natalie, I did what she said. She ain't lying.
Okay.
I took something. Something I can't get back. It was just supposed to be a robbery. But when I saw her, my whole life, nobody paid attention to anything I did. Not at home, not at school. Always felt kind of invisible, you know? So why would this be any different? What I did to Natalie, what I did changed her life forever. So I guess I finally learned my lesson. Just too late.
It's never too late, Mr. Watson. You'll do time. And that's your whole life. When you get out, you still have some runway ahead of you. Taking responsibility for what you did is only the first step. I'll speak to Miss Ross. Is only the first step. I'll speak to Miss Ross.
Okay. So, young black youth commits crime, went in to rob rather than R, and then goes to the cops and basically says, "I'm sorry." That's basically what that was. If you do that to my daughter, or if you do that to my wife, I think that honestly, and I have to keep it clean here, you don't get to just apologize and walk away. Okay? You better pray that, and I can't really say it here, but basically it goes along the lines of you better hope that the cops get to you before I do. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay? Just figure I'd throw that out there. I don't know what the messaging behind this episode was, but obviously other YouTube creators or content creators were pointing it out. People who were reporting this stuff. You had people on Twitter, Memeologies, where I got these clips at. You had Tim Pool talk about it earlier. You had Apologize Watson talk about it. You had a lot of people talking about this. In wokeness, of course, they talked about it. People were thinking that maybe there was some form of a woke messaging here. I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to identify with this. You see, one of the main reasons why is that people watch Law and Order is that they want to watch what happens to the criminals. They want to watch how the law works, even though you could actually, well, the thing about talking to an attorney is it typically tends to cost a lot of money, so therefore you typically tend not to want to speak to an attorney. So you want to get the illusion of exactly how the law works, especially in these big cities, and of course, is not always the case. Law and Order tries to present exactly something different than what is actually really and truly going on in New York and liberal-ran cities like Chicago. A lot of people are actually getting away with this. People like Sean Fitzgerald and many of the content creators, Nate the Lawyer is another one. They talk about the laws of the actual state itself, and this channel here more or less just a channel that talks more about the social consequences, and of course now the media criticism, exactly what's yet to come in pretty much all avenues of life, especially society. The thing is this right here. If someone commits the crime, obviously you need to do the time. I got into it with somebody on Twitter about this because there was this video that was shared of a white guy basically being bullied inside of a jail cell or being bullied inside of a jail. It was originally reported that the guy was actually a P, and I was kind of like, you know what, man, maybe the guy actually did something, so maybe that's the case. Well, he's in jail. Maybe don't do stupid things. And, of course, this person that I was arguing with, they had the whole notion of saying, well, maybe this guy, because, you know, it was just some crazy stuff. You're in jail. Obviously, you're going to get what's coming to you. I understand that there are people who are innocent, but that's very, very rare. Very, very rare. I get that. But, no, it is not white privilege to turn somebody in who did some very, very wrong to you. I have no idea exactly what the point of the entire episode was. Was it designed to manipulate? Was it designed to tell people that you shouldn't call the cops when something happens? Also, something else, too, when the guy fesses up to it, just because you fess up to it does not mean you just get off. Now, granted, this guy probably did not get off because apparently there was some other stuff going on in the episode itself, but still at the same time, you can't just apologize and then just seemingly walk away. There has to be some form of accountability. Which goes back to that incident that happened in New York. It happened in Brooklyn. You know, the guy I'm talking about from the video, the one, I'm not going to say his name because obviously it's going to bring up that whole can of worms again, even though I'll probably use it in the search engine or whatnot. But the thing is this right here, that guy's girlfriend, and I understand that these people went in stupidly thinking that the young male was not going to hurt them, which, of course, danger was all over that situation. And I'm showing you guys a bit of a montage of these people asserting the whole white privilege thing, which I'll probably do a bigger video on a later date, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now there is no white privilege, because if you're the subject of constantly getting beat up by the media, and, of course, there are poor white people too, then obviously there is no privilege with that. The thing is this right here, the vast majority of the racist narrative stuff is basically pumped out by the media. It's one of the main reasons why it is I turned this channel to more of a media criticism, because the media, of course, is who it is that's generating all this up. But the thing is this right here, that situation that happened in New York, those people immediately said, well, it's white privilege for us to actually turn some people in. However, we would later on find out what really happened is that they chose to take additional time off, and they chose to con that guy who died's parents out of money. And they also chose to con the foundation that was set up to get additional cash. And they expected to lay out of work for the next month because they were so depressed. Yet the guy who actually committed the crime, they wanted him to get off. They didn't want him to go to prison. That's the logic that they're trying to put on the American people. Now, if you ask me how the American people will perceive this, they probably won't perceive it anymore. Those who watch Law and Order, outside the normal content that Law and Order is, the normal episodes that are actually produced, the normal stuff they normally watch. They may think something's obviously off, and they'll probably disagree, but most people are going to look at this situation and say that this is absolutely insane, it's completely stupid, and that we need to get away from this nonsense. But still, at the same time, if this right here was an attempt by the mainstream media or the NBC networks to try to brainwash the people who watch the show, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, there are some people out there who do, in fact, believe television is real life. But still, it's extremely horrible messaging, and I understand why people are, in fact, calling it out. With that right there being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and halt this video now. I've got some appointments going on today. Let me just go ahead and give you guys a bit of an update on how the week is going to go. I should have done this yesterday, but seeing how it is that I'm going to be dealing with the doctor a lot more over the next, it's just some things that, you know, I'll explain later on. The thing is that the video on why nobody wants to join, that's actually going to be rolled up into the situation that's going on overseas. And I'm probably going to do a separate video that's a separate take altogether sometime tomorrow when we get more facts on the situation and get more, how do I say, more information on what is yet to come, because it's only been about 48 hours since then. So I want to give it a little bit more time so that way I can properly brief you guys on what's really going on with the situation overseas. With that right there being said, make sure you guys please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share the video, please tell me what you think in the comment section. And with that right there, I've got 2 videos coming out. The other one, of course, that include this one right here, is the Taylor Swift PSYOP explained. So make sure you guys stick around for that. This will be the first one of the day. With that right there being said, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.